Lesson 4-9, solving absolute value equations and inequalities. Okay? This is kind of like some of the steps that we had with our inequalities yesterday. So you need to watch, you need to pay attention to all the little small details that we're going to go through today. So the big idea is inequalities with the quantity absolute value ax plus b on one side and a positive number c on the other side can be solved by using the fact that ax plus b must equal either a positive c or a negative c. And this is where our case 1 and case 2 is going to come into play. Remember, we had case 1, case 2 the other day. We're going to have case 1, case 2 also today. Solving the absolute value of x is equal to a. It says, remember that the absolute value is a distance from x from 0 on a number line. At the right is a table of some pairs of values of x and the absolute value of x, and the graph of y equals the absolute value of x. Also, the line y equals 3 is graphed. Okay? So what they want you to notice is, if you notice here, when the absolute value of x equals a negative 3, equals 3, okay? When the absolute value of x equals 3, what it actually has is two solutions. X can equal 3 and x can equal a negative 3. Why? Is because when you put negative 3 in for x, when you put a negative 3 in for x, that negative 3 into that absolute value automatically turns it positive, which makes it a positive 3. When you put 3 into that absolute value, it keeps that positive positive. Therefore, when you put in 3, you also get out 3. So there's two solutions to this type of problem. What absolute value of x gives you 3? Those two solutions are x equals 3 and x equals a negative 3. So if I asked you what values of the absolute value of x could give me a positive 10, you would tell me a negative 10 and a positive 10, because the absolute value of a negative 10 is 10, and the absolute value of 10 is 10. Now, if you paid attention to before, it said that a can only be positive. Why is that? Well, you cannot find a positive number or the absolute value of some number to equal a negative number. So if someone gives you a problem like this, what's the absolute value of x that will give you a negative 4? You would say no solution. Because that can't be done. You can never, whenever you put something in an absolute value, you are always going to get out a positive number. Therefore, a positive number can never give you a negative. Something to think about. Okay? Solutions to the absolute value of x equaling c. That's just what we went over right here. Now, as it says right down here, when c is negative, there are no solutions. I just told you that. Okay? There are no solutions. When c is 0, there is only one solution. Obviously, that is when x equals 0. So, quiz yourself 1. Find all solutions to each equation. A. For what values of t can I get out 15? Well, this is positive, so my answer is t can be 15, or it could be a negative 15. Because if I put in a negative 15, the absolute value of negative 15 is a positive 15. If you look at B, what values of u equal a negative 88.2? Can you have an absolute value equal a negative number? No. So there are no solutions. And C, for what values of V equals 0? There's only one value that equals 0, and that is 0. Okay? Pay attention to these three things. Example 1 says, consider the graph which shows y1 equals the absolute value of 6 minus 2x and y sub 2 equals 18. Use the graph and use algebraic properties to solve 6 minus 2x equals 18. So we're going to use our graph for this. So I'm going to make this my y1. I'm going to make this my y2. And I'm just going to use my Desmos because hopefully my internet comes up faster. Than my calculator. So I'm just going to use my Desmos. And bring that up for you. I'm going to launch my calculator. But if you look here, my y1 is the absolute value of 6 minus 2x, so I need to bring in my calculator to find my absolute value. So I believe if you click on functions, go to miscellaneous, there's my absolute, okay? So all I did was click on functions, went to my miscellaneous, there's my absolute value, okay? And I need to go 6 minus 2x, 6 minus 2x, okay? Notice it makes my v, okay? Absolute values are always going to make your v, okay? At some point. And then our y2 is 18, so we want to know when that equals 18. Okay, so get rid of that. Obviously, we need to go out a little bit. I don't want to go up. But if I can scroll up here, having a hard time scrolling. Okay, here we go now. There we go, Mr. Johnson's on it. Stay on page. I don't know why it keep asking me that. Okay. But I should have a horizontal line right here at 18. I don't know why I don't got that. But I should have a horizontal line right here at 18 because that's what this should be graphing. Uh-oh. Absolute. Six minus 2x. That should give me 18. Why that's not graphing. But anyways, there should be a horizontal line. If this is 10, then that must mean this is 18. So you go up right at 18. And as you can see here, when x equals a negative 6, it gives me 18. And when x equals a positive 12. So those are my two solutions. When x equals a negative 6 and when x equals 12, as you can see right there. I'm sorry, I don't know why that horizontal line didn't show up. Maybe somebody can help me out with that later. But those are my two solutions. X has to equal a negative 6 and x has to equal 12 are my two solutions for this. Now, you could check that out. How could you check that out? Well, you could put a negative 6 in here. So 6 minus 2 times a negative 6. What's a negative 2 times a negative 6? That's a positive 12. 6 plus 12 is 18. Absolute value of 18 is 18. Now you can put 12 in there. 6 minus 2 times the quantity 12. A negative 2 times a positive 12 is a negative 24. 6 minus 24 is a negative 18. Does the absolute value of a negative 18 equal 18? It sure does. So we just check that out. Okay? Now, this is a long process of what they want you to do. Mr. Johnson's going to show you step by step how to solve this next problem using your hands instead of your calculator. Please pay attention. This is where your step 1, step. All right, example 2 says solve the absolute value of 8x plus 24 is less than or equal to 40. Now, Mr. Johnson does this a little bit different than what your book does it, so I want you to pay attention. Why? Because it involves our case 1, case 2, and I just think it breaks it up a lot easier than when you're doing it the way the book's doing it. So please pay attention here. So we have our case 1, case 2, and what's going to happen is, wow, can't write. Case 1, case 2, and what happens in our case 1, case 2 is case 1 is write it the same way without absolute value signs. So you write it the same way without absolute value signs. 8x plus 24 is less than or equal to 40. So all you had to do, case 1's very simple. Write it just like it is without the absolute value sign. Case 2 is you have to write it without absolute value signs, except now because we want to get the left side solution, dealing with inequalities, we have to flip it. Because what I'm doing is I'm actually multiplying 40 by a negative 1, which means I need to put a greater than or equal to sign on it now. So all you have to do is flip inequality and put a negative on solution. Okay, and this is the solution. So the second case is you flip the inequality. It went from less than or equal to greater than or equal to, and then put a negative on your solution. Now all you have to do is solve it. So I subtract 24, leaves me with 8x is less than or equal to 40 minus 24 is 16. Divide by 8. X is less than or equal to 2. Same process over here. Subtract 24. Signs are the same over here on the right-hand side. 8x greater than or equal to. This gives me a negative 64. Divide by 8. Divide by 8. X is greater than or equal to a negative 8. And these are my two solutions for this problem. Now, if I wanted to put it in an inequality, my point of interest are a negative 8, a positive 2. Both of them are closed. And this says x is less than or equal to 2. So this is heading to the right, or left. Sorry, less than or equal to. This says x is greater than or equal to a negative 8. So greater than or equal to a negative 8. So if you notice here, we have a merging of two inequalities. That's all I have for you today. Please enjoy. We'll see you tomorrow.